October 4th, 1944. Dawn. Commander Submarine Squadron. 8 Headquarters at Morotai Island. A radio operator stares at his transmission log. 22 hours have passed since Seawolf was ordered to report her position. The submarine has not answered. This is not radio silence by choice. This is not tactical discretion. Seawolf received direct order yesterday at 13:20 hours requiring immediate response. She did not respond. At 1800 hours, squadron staff transmitted second order, this time marked priority. Report position immediately. Silence. Now at 0600 hours this morning, a third transmission. Seawolf report position immediately. This is direct order. Acknowledge nothing. The operator checks frequencies, all channels clear. He checks transmission power, full strength, equipment functioning normally. The message is reaching its destination. Something is preventing Seawolf from answering. Or someone. 83 men aboard that submarine. 15 completed war patrols since December 1941. 3 years of continuous combat. She survived Japanese depth charges, aerial bombs, minefields. She operated in waters so shallow that enemy destroyers could spot her shadow on the sea floor. She completed missions that other submarine commanders refused as suicidal. And now she will not answer a simple radio call. The reason this silence terrifies squadron staff has nothing to do with Seawolf herself. It has everything to do with what happened yesterday afternoon, 80 miles from her last known position. October 3rd, 13:20 hours. Japanese submarine RO-41 torpedoed the American destroyer escort Shelton. 2 hits. The destroyer broke in half and sank in 11 minutes. The attack occurred at coordinates 2 degrees, 28 minutes north, 129 degrees, 5 minutes east. Those coordinates sit inside what Submarine Force Command designates as a safety zone. Safety zones are rectangular areas marked on operations charts where American submarines operate with presumed protection from friendly fire. Within these boundaries, American surface ships are prohibited from attacking submerged contacts without positive visual identification. The system emerged after American destroyers sank 3 American submarines through misidentification in the first 18 months of war. Worst incident killed 25 men during training exercises off California when a destroyer commander saw a periscope and fired without confirming target identity. Safety zones solved that problem for 22 months. Submarines inside those zones maintained radio schedules and responded to identification queries. Surface ships treated submerged contacts as friendly unless circumstances proved otherwise. The system worked because both sides followed the rules. Submarines acknowledged calls. Destroyers did not shoot at submarines in protected waters. Japanese submarine RO-41 just destroyed those rules. When Shelton transmitted her emergency contact report, fleet operations at Morotai faced immediate problem. Confirmed enemy submarine inside zone where 4 American submarines currently operated: Seawolf, Narwhal, Puffer, and Whale. Did the Japanese submarines still patrol that area? Were American destroyers now authorized to attack submerged contacts inside the safety zone, given confirmed enemy presence? More critically, were the American submarines aware that the safety zone had been compromised? Squadron Commander transmitted emergency query at 14:05 hours to all 4 submarines. Report your present position immediately. Acknowledge receipt of this message. Narwhal acknowledged within 7 minutes. Puffer acknowledged within 14 minutes. Whale acknowledged within 18 minutes. Seawolf never acknowledged. That silence transforms her from protected asset to potential threat. Not threat to American forces, but threat to herself. Because at 18:30 hours yesterday, fleet operations transmitted updated rules of engagement to all anti-submarine units. The message specified that safety zone protocols remained in effect, but added one critical modification. All submarines were ordered to surface and identify themselves when challenged by American surface ships. Failure to surface after 3 challenges authorized destroyer commanders to attack. This represents fundamental change in doctrine. Previous safety zone rules protected submarines through geographic boundaries alone. Surface ships could not attack submerged contacts regardless of circumstances. The new rules added behavioral requirement. Submarines must respond to challenges or lose protected status. Seawolf does not know this. She cannot know this, because she is not answering radio calls. The last confirmed contact with Seawolf occurred at 0756 hours on October 3rd. She exchanged radar recognition signals with the submarine Narwhal at coordinates 2 degrees 32 minutes north, 129 degrees 18 minutes east. Standard IFF procedure. Identification, friend or foe. Both submarines transmitted correct codes. Both submarines confirmed friendly status. That exchange happened 6 hours before Japanese submarine attacked Shelton. 6 hours before safety zone rules changed. 6 hours before Seawolf's silence became lethal problem. Lieutenant Commander Albert Bontier commanded Seawolf on this patrol. Before taking command 3 months earlier, he served as executive officer under Richard O'Kane on the Tang. O'Kane trained his officers to operate independently, to make tactical decisions without waiting for permission from command. Aggressive action, radio discipline, trust your judgment. These principles made Tang the most successful submarine in the Pacific Fleet. They also made Tang's officers comfortable with long periods of radio silence when tactical situation required it. Seawolf carried special cargo on this patrol. 17 tons of ammunition and supplies for Filipino guerrilla forces on Samar Island. She also transported 7 United States Army personnel who would coordinate with guerrilla commanders. This mission required penetrating shallow coastal waters where Japanese anti-submarine patrols operated continuously. High risk. Radio transmissions in those waters could compromise tactical security. Every transmission could be direction-finding target for Japanese forces. Did Bontier receive the emergency queries from Squadron Command? Almost certainly yes. Seawolf operated at periscope depth for several hours each day to charge batteries. Radio watch was maintained during those periods. The messages reached her. Did Bontier choose not to respond? Possible. He might have decided his current position or mission status made radio transmission tactically dangerous. He might have interpreted the queries as suggestions rather than direct orders. He might have assumed that operating inside safety zone gave him discretion to maintain radio silence. Or Seawolf's radio equipment failed. Transmitter damage, antenna damage. Equipment casualties happen, but submarines carry backup systems, multiple transmitters, multiple antennas, emergency procedures for communicating equipment failure. If Seawolf could receive but not transmit, standard procedure required her to surface and signal with lamp or flags. She did neither. The third possibility is the one that squadron staff does not discuss openly, but everyone considers privately. Seawolf might already be gone. Japanese anti-submarine forces might have sunk her between 0756 hours on October 3rd and 1320 hours when the emergency queries began. But Japanese forces did not report sinking any submarine in that area during that time period. Their records, examined after the war, show no anti-submarine action that could account for Seawolf's loss. which brings the analysis back to the only remaining option. Seawolf is operational, receiving messages and choosing not to respond, or unable to respond for reasons her crew cannot overcome. At 0830 hours on October 4th, destroyer escort Richard M. Rowell departed Morotai with orders to hunt for Japanese submarine RO-41. The destroyer carried full load of depth charges and Hedgehog anti-submarine mortars. Her sonar equipment functioned perfectly. Her crew had trained extensively in anti-submarine warfare. They knew the safety zone boundaries. They knew American submarines operated in those waters. They also knew the rules had changed. Rowell's commanding officer received the updated engagement protocols before departing. Submerged contacts inside safety zone were still presumed friendly, but submarines must surface when challenged. 3 challenges. Failure to surface authorized attack. The destroyer headed east toward the coordinates where Shelton went down. Standard search pattern. Wide turns. Active sonar pinging. Looking for submarine that torpedoed American ship yesterday. At squadron headquarters, staff officers plotted Seawolf's probable position based on her last known location and patrol orders. The calculations placed her within 20 miles of where Rowell would begin searching. Nobody transmitted warning to Seawolf because she was not answering transmissions. Nobody transmitted warning to Rowell because operational security prohibited broadcasting American submarine positions over radio channels that Japanese forces monitored. The system that protected submarines for 22 months now contained fatal flaw. Safety zone rules assumed submarines would communicate. New engagement protocols assumed submarines would surface when challenged. Both assumptions required submarines to know the rules had changed. Seawolf did not know. At 0915 hours, Rowell's sonar operator detected submerged contact bearing 045 degrees, range 3,000 yards. The contact moved slowly, speed estimated at 4 knots, depth approximately 100 feet, classic submarine patrol profile. The destroyer turned toward the contact. October 4th, 1944, 0915 hours. Destroyer escort Richard M. Rowell maintained sonar contact at 3,000 yards. The commanding officer studied the sonar display in the Combat Information Center. Contact bearing steady, speed 4 knots, depth 100 feet, submarine profile. He checked the navigation chart. Contact position 2 degrees 31 minutes north, 129 degrees 12 minutes east, inside the safety zone. 20 hours earlier, Japanese submarine torpedoed the destroyer escort Shelton 80 miles from this position. Same safety zone, same protected waters where American submarines supposedly operated without risk from friendly fire. The commanding officer had his orders. Updated engagement protocols transmitted yesterday at 1830 hours. Submerged contacts inside safety zones remained presumed friendly, but submarines must now surface when challenged. 3 challenges required. Failure to surface after 3rd challenge authorized attack. He ordered his ship to close range. Speed 12 knots. At 0923 hours, range reached 1,200 yards. Close enough for challenge procedures. The radio operator transmitted on emergency frequency. United States submarine in vicinity of destroyer escort. Surface immediately and identify yourself. This is American destroyer escort, Richard M. Rowell. You are ordered to surface and show recognition signals. Simultaneously, sonar operator activated underwater telephone, transmitting same message as acoustic signal through the water, directly toward the submerged contact. Signalman aimed searchlight at sea surface above estimated submarine position, flashing international code for surface and identify. 3 methods, 3 simultaneous transmissions. Standard protocol allowed 5 minutes for submarine to respond. Time to blow ballast tanks, rise to surface, open hatches, display identification flags. The sonar contact maintained depth and course. No response. 5 minutes elapsed. 09:28 hours. Second challenge transmitted using all 3 methods. Radio, underwater acoustic, light signal. United States submarine, you are ordered to surface immediately. Failure to surface will be interpreted as hostile action. This is your second warning. 5 more minutes. Contact unchanged. No depth change. No course change. No indication submarine crew heard challenges or intended to comply. 09:33 hours. Third challenge. United States submarine. This is your final warning. Surface immediately, or you will be attacked. You have 5 minutes to surface and identify yourself. The crew of Rowell understood what would happen next. Every man aboard had trained in anti-submarine warfare. They knew the weapon they were preparing to employ. They knew what depth charges did to submarines, but they also knew Japanese submarine had killed American sailors in these exact waters yesterday. They knew their orders were explicit. 3 challenges. No response means attack authorized. 09:38 hours. Third interval expired. Sonar contact maintained depth 100 feet. Speed 4 knots. Course unchanged. 15 minutes had passed since first challenge. No response received through any method. The commanding officer faced his decision point. Everything he had done followed procedure perfectly. 3 challenges transmitted. Adequate time allowed. Contact behavior consistent with hostile submarine ignoring warnings. But one option existed that protocols did not address. He could break radio silence and transmit direct query to fleet operations. Ask the specific question. Is American submarine Seawolf currently operating in coordinates 2 degrees 31 minutes north, 129 degrees 12 minutes east? This question had answer. Fleet operations knew which submarines operated in which zones. They maintained plotting boards tracking every American submarine position. One radio call would confirm whether this contact could possibly be American vessel. But that radio call would violate tactical security protocols. Broadcasting specific coordinates and submarine identification over channels that Japanese forces monitored would compromise operational security. Even coded transmission could be direction-finding target. Enemy submarine monitoring American frequencies would know destroyer had detected submerged contact but had not attacked. That delay could give hostile submarine time to maneuver into attack position against Rowell herself. The commanding officer had been trained that radio transmission in tactical situation was dangerous. That operational security took precedence over individual judgment. That orders existed for reason and deviation from orders caused disasters. His orders said challenge 3 times. His orders said failure to surface authorizes attack. His orders did not say ask permission. His orders did not say verify target identity through fleet operations before engaging. He had one piece of information that seemed to resolve the dilemma. Yesterday afternoon, when Japanese submarine attacked Shelton, fleet operations transmitted emergency query to all American submarines in the area. Report your position immediately. 3 submarines responded within 18 minutes. Seawolf never responded. If Seawolf was operational and receiving radio transmissions, she would have answered that emergency query. Fleet operations had transmitted follow-up queries throughout the evening and this morning. Seawolf remained silent. Therefore, logic suggested this contact could not be Seawolf. Seawolf was either sunk by Japanese forces or experiencing catastrophic communications failure, or operating far from this position. Any of those scenarios meant this contact was something else, most likely Japanese submarine RO-41 or another Japanese submarine operating in compromised safety zone. The commanding officer had followed procedures. He had challenged 3 times. He had received no response. He had logical reason to believe this could not be American submarine that had failed to answer radio calls for 22 hours. He ordered attack, 0940 hours. Depth charge crews released 6 charges in 2-second intervals, 300 pounds of Torpex explosive in each charge. Settings preset for detonation at 100 feet depth. Pattern designed to create overlapping pressure zones. 42 seconds after release, first charge detonated. Pressure wave radiated through water at 4,000 feet per second. Second detonation. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth. 6 overlapping shock waves converged on position where sonar had tracked submarine contact. Sonar regained contact 3 minutes later. Target no longer moving, depth increasing. Submarine was sinking. Oil slick appeared at surface. Diesel fuel, dark petroleum smell. Hull had ruptured. Debris surfaced. Wood fragments, cork insulation, paper. Items blown out of flooding submarine by water pressure. No survivors appeared. No life rafts. No men in water. Submarine had gone down with all hands aboard. The commanding officer logged attack at 0940 hours. Position 2 degrees 31 minutes north, 129 degrees 12 minutes east. Inside safety zone. 6 depth charges expended. Submarine sunk. He transmitted contact report to fleet operations. Enemy submarine destroyed in vicinity of previous Shelton attack. 1 submerged contact detected. Challenged 3 times per protocol. Failed to surface. Depth charge attack executed. Target sunk. 18 minutes later, response came back from fleet operations. 4 American submarines assigned to operational area. 3 have reported positions within last 24 hours. Seawolf has not reported position since October 3rd. Request immediate confirmation of debris recovery and target identification. The commanding officer read that message 3 times. Request immediate confirmation of target identification. Fleet operations wanted proof that contact was Japanese submarine, but proof was 800 feet below surface, scattered across ocean floor. No survivors to interrogate. No intact debris large enough to show Japanese markings. Just oil slick and cork fragments and wood splinters floating in widening circle where submarine had been. At squadron headquarters on Morotai, staff officers plotted attack coordinates on operations chart. Position 2 degrees 31 minutes north, 129 degrees 12 minutes east. They compared those coordinates to Seawolf's last known position from October 3rd. 0756 hours, 2 degrees 32 minutes north, 129 degrees 18 minutes east. Distance between positions, 8 nautical miles. Time elapsed, 26 hours. Seawolf's patrol speed, 4 knots. At 4 knots, submarine traveling southwest from last known position would cover exactly 8 nautical miles in 26 hours. The mathematics were precise. Attack coordinates matched projected position for Seawolf if she had maintained course and speed since last contact with Narwhal. But mathematics were not proof. Japanese submarine could have been in same position by coincidence. Safety zone covered large area. 2 submarines could occupy positions 8 miles apart. Squadron staff transmitted priority message to all intelligence sections. Request immediate review of Japanese anti-submarine action reports for October 3rd and 4th. Confirm any Japanese claims of submarine sinking in operational area, coordinates 2 degrees north to 3 degrees north, 128 degrees east to 130 degrees east. Response came back within 6 hours. Japanese forces reported no anti-submarine actions in specified area during specified time frame. No depth charge attacks, no submarine sinkings claimed. That absence of Japanese reporting meant something. If Japanese forces had sunk Seawolf yesterday or this morning, their records would document it. Japanese anti-submarine units maintained detailed logs, every contact, every attack, every claim. The only documented attack against submarine in that area at that time was American attack. Rowell's depth charge pattern at 0940 hours on October 4th. Squadron staff drafted message to Bureau of Naval Personnel at 2200 hours. Submarine Seawolf, 83 crew, is hereby designated as overdue and presumed lost. Last contact October 3rd at 0756 hours. Circumstances of loss under investigation. October 4th, 1944. 1100 hours. Destroyer escort Richard M. Rowell completed search pattern over attack site. Oil slick spread across 200 yards of ocean surface. Diesel fuel. The smell reached the deck before the slick became visible. Debris floated in expanding circle. Wood fragments. Cork insulation. Paper pulp too waterlogged to read. Rowell's crew used boat hooks and nets to retrieve materials. Everything went into canvas bags marked with coordinates and recovery time. Standard procedure after submarine sinking required recovery of identifiable debris, serial numbers, equipment markings, anything that could confirm target identity. Nothing retrieved provided identification. Cork came from insulation used in both American and Japanese submarines. Wood could be furniture, decking, packing material. Paper dissolved before recovery. The debris field contained no bodies, no life rafts, no survivors. At 1700 hours, fleet operations ordered Rowell to suspend recovery operations and resume patrol. The destroyer departed. Oil slick remained, spreading with current. Within 48 hours, it would dissipate completely. Within 1 week, ocean surface would show no evidence submarine had died there. 83 men went to ocean floor that morning. Lieutenant Commander Albert Bontier, commanding officer. 15 officers, 67 enlisted crew. 7 United States Army personnel being transported to Samar Island for guerrilla coordination. 90 men total. Their families received Western Union telegrams on October 5th. Navy Department deeply regrets to inform you that your son, husband, father is missing following action in performance of his duty and service to his country. Standard notification. Same text transmitted for every submarine loss. 52 American submarines were lost in Pacific War. 3,500 men. Most families never learned specific circumstances. Submarines that disappeared on patrol simply never returned. But squadron staff at Morotai knew circumstances of Seawolf's loss were different. They knew she failed to respond to 3 emergency queries over 22 hours. They knew destroyer escort attacked submerged contact precisely where Seawolf should have been operating. They knew Japanese forces reported no anti-submarine actions in that area during relevant time frame. Board of Inquiry convened October 6th. 3 senior officers reviewed radio logs, sonar recordings, attack reports, intelligence summaries. Finding issued October 20th. Submarine Seawolf probably lost due to attack by friendly forces on October 4th. Attacking vessel destroyer escort Richard M. Rowell. Attack conducted in accordance with established protocols. No negligence found. Word probably appeared in official finding because proof did not exist. Submarine hull rested 800 feet below surface. Navy had no capability to reach that depth in 1944. No recovery possible, no physical evidence, only mathematics, only absence of Japanese action reports, only alignment of position and time that placed Seawolf exactly where Rowell dropped depth charges. The commanding officer of Rowell received notification of findings on October 23rd. No negligence found, no disciplinary action recommended. He remained in command. Staff officers at squadron headquarters who transmitted emergency queries received no reprimand. They followed procedures. Fleet operations officers who modified engagement protocols received no criticism. Their response to changed tactical situation was reasonable. Every person involved followed correct procedures. Every decision made sense within context of available information. Every action aligned with training and doctrine. System worked exactly as designed. Result was 90 men dead. One question remained unanswered in all official records, all investigation findings, all testimony from officers who transmitted emergency queries and destroyer captain who ordered attack. Why Seawolf failed to respond to 3 direct orders requiring immediate radio acknowledgement over 22 hours. Radio equipment failure was possible explanation, but submarines carried multiple transmitters, multiple antennas, backup systems designed specifically to prevent total communications loss. Complete failure of all radio equipment simultaneously was extremely rare. And even with transmitter failure, submarines could surface and signal with flags or lamps. Seawolf did neither. Tactical radio silence was possible explanation. Lieutenant Commander Bontier served as executive officer under Richard O'Kane on Tang before taking command of Seawolf. O'Kane trained his officers to operate independently, maintain radio discipline, trust their tactical judgment. But emergency query from squadron headquarters was direct order. Submarine commanders had no authorization to ignore direct orders for tactical reasons, regardless of training philosophy. Combat damage was possible explanation. Japanese attack, crew casualties, equipment damage preventing radio operation. But Japanese forces reported no contact with American submarine on October 3rd or 4th in operational area. Their records, examined after war ended, contained no anti-submarine actions that could account for Seawolf's silence. Japanese units maintained detailed logs, every contact, every attack, every claim. Documentation was reliable. If they had engaged Seawolf, records would show it. Navigation error was possible explanation. Seawolf might have been far from presumed position, outside radio range of relay stations. But her last confirmed position on October 3rd at 0756 hours placed her well within range of multiple transmitters. And if navigation error moved her outside radio range, it would also move her outside attack coordinates where Rowell detected submarine contact. The mathematics aligned too precisely for navigation error. Every explanation had problems. No explanation fit all available evidence. Perhaps Bontier received the emergency queries and made calculation that operating inside safety zone gave him discretion to maintain radio silence for tactical reasons. Perhaps he interpreted queries as suggestions rather than direct orders. Perhaps he trusted that safety zone protocols protected him, regardless of radio acknowledgement. This explanation requires believing experienced submarine commander misunderstood fundamental distinction between suggestion and direct order. Possible, but unlikely. Perhaps Seawolf's radio equipment experienced partial failure. Receivers functional, transmitters disabled. Crew could hear emergency queries but could not respond. This explanation requires believing submarine failed to surface and signal alternate acknowledgement despite receiving 3 direct orders over 22 hours. Procedures existed specifically for this scenario. Surface, signal with flags. Bontier knew those procedures. Why would he not execute them? Perhaps something aboard Seawolf prevented crew from responding. Emergency situation, fire, flooding, casualties. Crisis severe enough to prevent radio transmission, but not severe enough to prevent submarine from maintaining patrol course and speed at steady depth for 26 hours. This explanation requires circumstances that fall into narrow window between operational capability and total incapacitation. Possible, but scenario becomes increasingly specific to fit available evidence. Or perhaps answer is simpler and more troubling. Perhaps Bontier did not believe the emergency queries required immediate response. Perhaps he planned to acknowledge when tactically convenient. Perhaps he assumed squadron staff understood submarines and safety zones maintained flexible radio schedules. Perhaps he thought he had time. Records show Seawolf exchanged recognition signals with submarine Narwhal at 0756 hours on October 3rd, standard IFF procedure. Both submarines confirmed friendly status. That was routine contact. Nothing in that exchange suggested emergency situation. Nothing indicated safety zone had been compromised 6 hours later when Japanese submarine torpedoed Shelton. From Bontier's perspective, assuming he maintained normal operations throughout October 3rd and 4th, he would have no reason to believe situation had changed. He would have no knowledge Japanese submarine attacked American destroyer. He would have no knowledge engagement protocols had been modified. He would have no knowledge destroyer escorts now had authorization to attack submarines failing to surface when challenged. His last information showed safety zone functioning normally. American submarines exchanging recognition signals, protected waters, routine patrol. If radio equipment experienced problems, if tactical situation required radio silence, if crew faced emergency preventing immediate acknowledgement, perhaps Bontier calculated he could maintain course and complete mission without radio contact. Perhaps he trusted the system that had protected American submarines for 22 months. That trust would have been correct on October 2nd. It was not correct on October 4th. Investigation file remained classified until 1968. When declassified, families of Seawolf crew received access to inquiry findings. Some families requested copies. Most did not. 24 years had passed. Knowing specific circumstances did not change the loss. Final entry in Seawolf's official record came from Bureau of Naval Personnel dated December 31st, 1944. Submarine Seawolf, hull number SS-197, is hereby declared lost with all hands. Date of loss, October 4th. Cause of loss presumed friendly fire. Circumstances surrounding loss remain under investigation. Investigation never closed. Question never received answer. 83 men died inside safety zone designed to protect them, killed by weapons fired by crew following correct procedures after submarine failed to respond to emergency queries for reasons never determined. Oil slick dissipated within 2 days. Ocean surface showed no evidence of what occurred there.